Imagine going from scrubbing toilets for minimum wage to building a $4 billion fashion empire and then losing it all, twice. Same company, same brand, same name on the door. Bankrupt, twice. Most companies don't even survive one bankruptcy. This one crawled out of the grave, dusted itself off, looked the entire retail industry in the eye, and died all over again. This isn't a story about fast fashion, or malls dying, or Gen Z shopping on their phones. This is the story of Forever 21 and the immigrant founder who built the American dream from nothing and watched it crumble twice.
Won Chang arrived in Los Angeles in 1981 with limited English, minimal savings, and no business experience. He and his wife Jin Suk had left South Korea with almost nothing, chasing a version of America they'd only ever seen in magazines. What they found was harder than anything they'd imagined. Won worked as a janitor, a gas station attendant, and a coffee shop barista at the same time, putting in 19-hour workdays, often at minimum wage. His wife, Jin Suk, on the other hand, worked in the salon. Two immigrants and one city that didn't care about their dreams. But something happened at that gas station that would change everything. Won noticed a pattern. Every customer who pulled up in a Mercedes, every person wearing a tailored suit and a fat watch, was in the same business. I noticed the people who drove the nicest cars were all in the garment business, he later told the LA Times. That single observation while pumping gas in Highland Park was the spark. Over 3 years of relentless saving, the Changs amassed $11,000, roughly $33,000 in today's money. Every dollar clawed back from minimum wage. And in 1984, they took every cent they had and bet it all. Their first store was a tiny 900-square-foot space in northeast Los Angeles, catered to a young crowd, mainly Korean Americans, offering cheap and trendy clothing. They called it Fashion 21. In its first year, that 900-square-foot closet of a store, sales increased from $35,000 to $700,000. $700,000, year one. No investors, no MBA, no fashion background whatsoever. Jin Suk, who had been a hairdresser, had a gift for spotting trends that were easy to copy. Won understood volume, pilot high, price it low, move fast, and never ever slow down. They renamed the store Forever 21 in 1987 because 21 felt like the age of possibility, of freedom, of having your whole life in front of you. The irony of that name will become very clear by the end of this video. For now, like, subscribe, sit back, and watch it all unfold. What came next was nothing short of extraordinary. By 2015, global sales soared to an impressive $4.4 billion, with a staggering 480 stores occupying vast spaces in malls all over America. Think about that number, $4.4 billion, from $11,000 in savings and a gas station epiphany. At its peak, Forever 21 employed 43,000 people across a global empire that stretched into 48 countries. Their stores weren't just stores, they were events. Massive, overwhelming, sensory-overloading cathedrals of cheap fashion. Peak Forever 21 was in the early 2000s, when no self-respecting mall could go without the store. It was vast, bright, and chaotic, overrun by cute tank tops, tight skirts, and graphic tees. And at the center of all of it, Won and Jin Suk Chang. By 2015, the couple were estimated to be among America's wealthiest, with a combined net worth of $5.9 billion. From janitor to billionaire, from $11,000 to $5.9 billion in 30 years. The American dream didn't just come true for Won Chang, it exploded. But empires built on speed have a problem. Speed doesn't come with brakes. While Forever 21 was printing billions, the very strategy that made them untouchable was quietly becoming a trap. Forever 21's model was built on size, bigger stores, more stores, louder stores. While every other retailer on Earth was watching foot traffic decline and pivoting towards smaller footprints and online sales, Forever 21 was doing the opposite. Forever 21 stores averaged 38,000 square feet.
The largest store spanned 162,000 square feet. All of that real estate costs money, enormous, crippling, monthly money. The annual occupancy cost of all Forever 21 stores was about $450 million. $450 million every year just to keep the lights on. In just a decade, Forever 21 expanded from 7 international stores in 2005 to a staggering 262. The majority of its international locations were not profitable by 2015. Stores in Canada, Europe, and Asia were collectively facing losses of around $10 million per month. $10 million every single month, bleeding out through international stores that nobody wanted. Meanwhile, the world had changed. While brands like Zara and ASOS leaned into digital sales, Forever 21 was painfully slow to adapt. Its website remained clunky and outdated, and the brand failed to build a strong online presence in time. Young shoppers were not hitting the malls anymore. They were shopping on their phones. And there was another problem, a cultural one. Some consumers began turning away from fast fashion due to concerns on environmental impact. Others found competitors with fresher styles or higher quality. Gen Z, the generation that Forever 21 needed to survive, was waking up to the ethics of disposable clothing, and they didn't like what they saw. Forever 21 had over 50 copyright infringement lawsuits against them, accused of ripping off designers from Diane von Furstenberg to Gwen Stefani, labor violations, toxic jewelry, a brand identity that amounted to, in the words of one retail analyst, a lot of stuff for a little money.
September 29, 2019, Forever 21 announced that it had filed for bankruptcy protection. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing $500 million in debt. It announced plans to close up to 178 U.S. stores and cease operations in 40 countries, including Canada and Japan. The company that had once employed 43,000 people now had about 32,800, over 10,000 decline. The founders, who had been worth $5.9 billion combined, were now worth $1.6 billion. Still rich by any measure, but the fall was violent and fast. E-commerce made up only 16% of Forever 21 sales, which had already dropped to $3.3 billion in 2018. A brand that had its core customers on their phones hadn't figured out how to sell to them there. But this, believe it or not, is not the end of the story. Forever 21 was purchased by Authentic Brands Group, Simon Property Group, and Brookfield Property Partners for $81 million. $81 million. A company that had generated $4.4 billion in annual sales sold for $81 million. Pennies on the dollar. The new owners promised a leaner, smarter Forever 21. Fewer stores, better online, a second act, redemption. For a moment, it almost looked like they might pull it off. And then it didn't. The restructured Forever 21 tried everything. They partnered with Shein, the Chinese fast fashion giant that had taken their lunch, giving Shein access to physical retail space in exchange for digital reach and a new audience. Think about how desperate that move was. Forever 21 partnering with the company that had outcompeted them to the point of bankruptcy. But then the pandemic hit. Stores shut down globally. Supply chains broke. And when the world reopened, rising inflation made everything more expensive. Inventory, shipping, wages, and running stores all cost more. Inflation also diminished consumer discretionary spending as shoppers prioritized essentials over fashion. And there was a new threat, something that made Forever 21's original fast fashion model look positively slow. Two Chinese companies, Shein and Temu, were changing the e-commerce landscape in the United States, shipping clothes directly from factories in China to American doorsteps. No storefronts, no mall leases, no 38,000 square foot overhead, just an app, an algorithm, and prices so low they didn't seem real. In a court filing, the company's co-chief restructuring officer said Chinese competitors like Shein and Temu had materially and negatively impacted the company. Forever 21 had invented fast fashion, and fast fashion had evolved into something they couldn't compete with. March 17, 2025. Forever 21 filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for the second time. This time, it announced it would shut down its U.S. operations entirely, marking the official end of its retail empire. Not a restructuring, not a sale, not another buyer waiting in the wings. The end. According to CoreSite Research, 7,325 retail stores shut their doors in 2024, and this number is expected to double. In 2025, 15,000 retail stores are expected to close their operations. Forever 21 was just the biggest name on the list. Here is what the autopsy reveals. Forever 21 didn't die because fast fashion died. Shein is doing $30 billion a year. Fashion Nova is thriving. Zara is growing. Forever 21 died because they thought their format was their product. They thought the giant mall store, the chaotic, overwhelming treasure hunt experience, was the reason people loved them. They kept building bigger and bigger stores at the exact moment the mall itself was dying. They rose at the dawn of the fast fashion era, one of its original giants who would take styles you'd see on runways or magazine pages and bring them to your local mall in a blink of an eye, and cheaply. But they never asked themselves, what happens when there is no mall? What makes you good 10 years ago doesn't necessarily make you good today in retail. Won Chang once scrubbed floors for minimum wage before dawn in Los Angeles, dreaming of the day he'd build something that lasted. He built something that employed 43,000 people, dressed a generation, and made billions. And then he watched it die. Twice. The name Forever 21 was always a fantasy, a feeling, not a promise, the idea that youth lasts. But nothing lasts forever. Not malls, not momentum, not even a billion-dollar brand built by immigrants who worked 19-hour days on faith alone. That's the irony I mentioned earlier. The real lesson of Forever 21 is not about fast fashion or e-commerce or Shein. It's something different. The same hunger that builds an empire, if you never evolve it, becomes the thing that buries you.